All right, today we're going to balance tires. There's a few different ways this can be done. Our machine is not typically what you would see in a tire shop. Typically a tire shop is going to have a machine that has a cover over it, and you'd have a button you would push and it would automatically spin the tire. Ours is a little bit more on the budget side, and it is a fairly older machine as well. But it still does a good accurate job of figuring out where we need to put those weights to balance those tires. So the first step what we have to do here is we have to find the little pliers here that'll grab a hold of the weights, because we need to remove the weights that are currently on the tire and take those weights off before we can start the process. Weights can be located on the rim like this one is right here. They could be on the inside, on the outside, and on the inside. They could also be weights that are like stuck onto the inside of the rim, meaning like there's like an adhesive on them, where it's like you peel a piece of plastic off, place it on there where it needs to be, and they're actually on here. Most newer rims do not have weights on the outside of them, just for appearance reasons, and the rims are, they're a major design component to the car, and people are real focused on that. So they want to keep those as clean and nice looking as they can. So again, we have to remove our weights. We're going to go ahead and we're going to use the pliers. They've got a pointed end, and then there's more of a flat end. We're going to put the pointed end inside that little hole on the back of the weight. Grab a hold of the front portion of the weight here, and we're actually just going to kind of roll that forward. You got to squeeze fairly tightly. Make sure you don't have your hands in the area here where they could get pinched. That's going to be a bad situation for you that you'll remember. So sometimes it may take two hands because you got to put that kind of force on it. So I'm rolling it towards the center of the rim itself. So I took that weight off. Kind of look at the weight, figure out what it is. This one's a 0.75, so I'm going to put it in the 0.75 location. That way it makes it easier for us to do it in the future. We're not grabbing the wrong weights. So again, we just go around, we pull the weights off. This one I think has 3 on it. I'm going to double check here in a second, but and these weights haven't been off in a long time, so they're a little bit more difficult than the ones you guys are going to take off. These have been on here since these tires were put on new. So there we go. We've got the weights off the inside. Double check the outside. We're looking good. Again, try to put the weights back in the appropriate spots. We're ready to go ahead now and mount it up onto the machine itself. You kind of get you turned over here a little bit so we can see that. So now we're looking at the machine. Our first step is we need to find the proper cone that will actually fit inside the hole of the rim here. We want it to fit in there a little bit. Obviously we don't want to go all the way through. With the cones I have and these particular tires that you're going to be working on, it's going to be the smallest cone that we have. It just barely fits in there, but that's kind of what we want. So what we're going to do is we're going to mount this thing. We're going to have to lift up the tire, slip the cone on, and then put the screw the nut on here that actually holds the tire tight to this surface. So let me get it around to the back side here. So again, I'm going to lift the tire up, I'm going to put that cone on, and then I'm going to slip the nut on there and tighten her down. So again, we're just raising it up, putting it on, slip our cone on there, Then we get our nut and we'll tighten that guy up here. Now, a couple things before I set this machine up is we have to spin the tire physically ourselves. So what that means is we're going to have to grab a hold of the handle here on the nut portion of this, and we're going to spin it to the point where it beeps once, and then we let go and it'll cruise to a stop on its own. Now you can also turn it too quickly, and at that point it's going to beep continuously and it'll eventually pop up with an error message up here on the screen. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to turn it to right speed so you guys can hear that sound. Kind of start off slow, go a little faster, beep, beeped once. I'll let it just coast to a stop. It'll actually turn on a little brake. There, it stopped it. So in that amount of time, it measured where it needs to put the weights. Now if we did it too quickly, what'll happen is you get a constant tone, and eventually it'll pop up with all E's on the screen up here. And a lot of times the brake does not apply, so you do kind of have to slow that thing down some, because that little automatic stopping mechanism does not function when it's spun too quickly. So that's our process there. Okay, so our next step is we have to set up the machine itself. We have 3 measurements that we need to figure out. We've got the top knob there is the rim diameter. We also have the middle one is our rim width, and the bottom one is the distance from like the space in between the tire and the machine, and I'll show you that in just a second. To find the tire diameter, what we need to do, and this may be difficult for you guys to see this, I apologize. We have to look at the tire itself, and we want to look for a number here on it. It's actually right here in this location, and it says the tire is a 205/55/16. The last number is our diameter. So we want to go ahead and go back to our screen, and we're just going to simply turn that knob until we're at the 16. So the top one's set at this point. Okay, so the next step, we want to go ahead and we want to take our calipers that measure the rim width, because we have to set the second dial now at this point. What we want to do is we want to take our calipers, we want to put it on the sides of the rim here, just underneath that raised lip that goes around the very outer diameter. So we want to be just right beside that raised lip on the lower portion there. And we want to look at our number that we have displayed, that the arrow is pointing to up here at this location. We're looking at a 7 inches wide. So we just want to go ahead and then set our dial here to 7 inches. This happens to already be set at that location. So we're at 7 right now already, so that's why we want that. Put our calipers away. We'll go ahead now, we've got our bottom dial to look at. This is, again, the distance, like between this black surface and, the inside of the rim right here, just where my fingers are touching, the same spot where we just took our measurement from, but on the inside surface. On the machine, you've got a little slide out measuring device here, so you just slide that thing out until he's on that same flat surface that we just measured from, and it's got readings on here. We are at 4.5 inches. So we want to set our bottom dial here to 4.5. So we got that at 4.5. So now at this point, we've got our machine set up. We've got all of our weights off. We're ready to go ahead and spin the tire. Again, you start off kind of slow, get it going faster. Beeped once, I let go of it. and the brake will apply. And now it's going to tell us what weights to put on. So as you slowly turn the tire around, it's going to pop up numbers. And in this case, it pops up with a number of 000. That is just meaning that it really needs a weight right here, but it's such a small amount that it's nothing we have to worry about. So we're not going to worry about that 0. We're going to keep rolling. If you go fast, you'll end up and miss the number because it'll flash up on the screen so quickly. So right there was a 25. If you're looking at the screen, we've got arrows that are on this side of the number, so that means it's going to be this side of the tire. So that's a 25 weight. The 25 weights are probably the hardest ones to put on because they are so small and it makes it very difficult to hold on to them because they're just tiny little guys. Because you're still going to have to hit it with the little hammer here. It's on the pliers, but you also don't want to smash your fingers in the process. So they can be a little tricky, the super small ones. So we need to find our 25 again. And what we want to do is we want to put that weight on directly above like the center shaft of the changer itself. So again, I've got a 25. Got to find my mark here again. So I went directly above, straightforward, straight up above, and I'm going to use my little hammer. And again, the little ones, they're the least favorite. They're a little bit on the tricky side sometimes, just because you can't quite hit it as hard as you want to because your fingers are right there. So let me find that guy again here. So there I've got that 25 weight on. Now what I mean by having it directly straight up from the center shaft, let me kind of turn you over here where you guys can see this a little better. So looking at it right here from this direction, we have the tire. We got that 25 indicator on the screen right now, but our weight is directly straight up from the center shaft here. That's where the 25 is saying it needs to be at. So we've got that directly where it needs to be right there at that point. So we're ready to find our next weight spot. There may be one, there may be two, there may be more than that. We don't know. Again, we had that 25, there's that 25, roll it some more here. Another 0 that popped up. That's a 25, and that's the same one we've got on the outside. So it's possible this only takes that one weight. The way we run this back through to make sure we double check, we're going to go ahead and we're going to spin this thing until it beeps. Once it beeps, we'll stop. Let it do its thing again here. It should pop up all zeros on the screen. That's how you know that tire's balanced. Now, if we did have an indicator, on this side, that means the weight needs to be on the inside of this rim. What I typically will do on those situations, I'll figure out wherever the number's at. I'll kind of set my weight on there, again, straight up from the center. Put my weight on there, and then I will turn the tire here, hold on to my weight, and then pound that on. Go back, double check to make sure a number popped up and we're directly above that center line. Obviously we can't swing a hammer in here closely. We don't want to be hitting the controller. So, swing it out of the way so you've got more space to tap it on there. That should get you through the tire changer assignment. It is possible to end up, if you put your weights in the wrong spot where you're like, okay, I did everything it told me to do, and you spin it and it says it still needs numbers. Well, you may not have your weight exactly where it needs to be, and if it's off, just a little bit here, it's going to require more weight somewhere else to compensate for that weight not being in the correct location. If you have any questions when you're doing the process, let me know. I'll be glad to help you on that.